What's going on? It's Elusive here, and I kind of want to make a video about kind of why I picked this bike as my first bike. Before this bike, I just got my license actually May of this year. I took a riding course, so I never rid an actual bike before, not even a dirt bike when I was younger. This is my first actual motorbike. So personally, the reason I mainly picked this, I'll be 100% honest, I'm pretty biased as I am a pretty big Honda guy. If you guys are not new to the channel, I am an owner of a 2014 CRZ, and then 2 RSXs, a Type S and a base model. So I do kind of have a collection of Hondas already, so I'm pretty biased on what I chose for my first bike. But it was a very, 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 very close contender to the Yamaha R6. And the only reason I picked up this versus the R6, sorry, I had to do something for a kiddo. The only reason I picked up this bike over the R6 was I could not find an R6 decently priced in my area. Every R6 I could find was over 5 or 6K, and I just wasn't looking for that much money for a starter bike. Other favorite features over the R6, which is obviously the biggest competitor, I feel like that and the ZX6R from Kawasaki are the biggest competitors right now in the 600 market. That's a big ass bump. So the fastest 600 I think goes to the ZX6R. I think the top speed is like 4 miles faster than this thing. It's got a little bit more torque as well. The main reason I chose this thing, like I said, I'm kind of a Honda guy, so I kind of was pretty biased on my choice. So pretty much when I wanted to get a bike, it was 100% between an R6 and this thing, and I just happened to find this thing first. I found it for very, very cheap. I kind of mentioned in the first video. If you guys haven't seen that, if you're new or whatever, make sure you guys check that out. So I've never been on an R6 before, ever. I know the R6 has like a 2 mile an hour top speed difference. It's a little bit higher in top end. As far as like number wise, this and the R6 are really, really close together. Like damn near the same bike if you were to get on them. So really, this or an R6 really wouldn't make much of a difference. It's just kind of who makes the bike and your personal preference. I think this thing looks better than an R6, personally. I'm going to go into a parking lot here eventually and kind of show you guys how the bike sits currently. But personally, I like how this bike sits more than an R6. But that's all, at that point, it's all personal preference. Like, I'm not saying the R6 is a bad looking bike at all. Like, it's obviously very good looking. I think I prefer the way the 600RR looks versus the R6. And again, that's all personal preference. A lot of the features on both the R6 and 600RR are damn near the same. The main difference that you'll notice from a daily perspective is this have a digital fuel gauge, which I love. That was also another good selling point. I love the digital fuel gauge. That's pretty sick, actually. Not very many other bikes other than Hondas have that. So the reason I picked the 600cc over starting out on a 300 or 400 was mainly my comfort level, and I really just wanted to jump into a 600 right away. There's a lot of videos on YouTube covering this topic on what you should pick for a first bike. But having zero experience on bikes, I think a 600 is definitely doable. It really depends your comfort level. If you really aren't comfortable, I rolled my first bike, and the class was I think it was a 250, and we just drove in a parking lot and shit. So I mean, I didn't know my comfort level, but once I got on this thing, I was pretty comfortable on it. So I would say a 600 definitely is a good starter bike, because it's one of those things where you could definitely pick something smaller. You can definitely start at 1,000. Somebody in my class who took the class with me was one of my buddies. He actually bought an R1 for his first bike. So it really just depends on your comfort level and experience, I guess. I wouldn't say this is a really difficult bike to learn. It didn't take me very long to learn. So this is how my 600 looks right now. When I first bought it, I'll put a picture on screen, but we were missing fairings. So we were missing the bottom panel fairings, as well as we were pretty much missing the bottom fairings, the underside ones, and then we're missing the right side big one. So I actually got a set of new fairings already. I'm going to be wrapping a different color, which I will not announce until I make the video. So yeah, like I said, it's 100% stock 600RR. When I bought it, the only thing I had on there was a slip-on. It had the Jardine slip-on, which I think for the budget, for the price of that slip-on, it's a pretty good deal. It's like a $300 slip-on. I didn't pay for it, like I said, it came on with the bike when I bought it, so a very good deal. I paid $2,100 for the bike, and then when I bought it, it also had dirt bike bars, so it had the bars raised up here. I made a video on that as well, putting them back to the clip-ons. It's a better ride, and I prefer it that way. So that's what it looks like now. I haven't made a video yet really just showing you guys what it looks like. Yeah, I got the underside fairings on, as well as I kind of fixed up the side ones that were all scratched and shit. Like I said, I got new fairings already. I just got to wrap them different color, so that'll be on the way shortly as well. So big things for the bike. I have a lot of fun on this thing. It has, I think, 46,000 miles on it, and then when I bought it, it had like, I think, 42, somewhere upwards of 42,000 on it. So I put out about 4,000 this year on riding it, which is pretty good for my first time, I feel like. So I had a lot of fun on this year already on it, and it's only October. We still got a little bit longer left before it gets like brutally cold here in Wisconsin. But definitely a good bike. I also lowered it 3 inches. I didn't mention that. I have an adjustable lowering link for the rear, and I lowered it 3 inches. I'm 5'6", I weigh 120 pounds, so this big 4-cylinder is pretty bulky to move around for a guy like me, but an average person will have zero problem with it. It's just because I am kind of abnormal when it comes to that. Even when I first started out, it was terrible, because like stock height on this thing, when I'm stock height, I'm like tippy toeing, like top of my tippy toes at stock height, so I knew right away it needed to be lowered. And then I tried an inch, and an inch was okay, like an inch lower was okay, but I did the whole 3-inch lower because I just know it's a lot more comfortable now. Just overall, I daily this bike a lot of the time as well. There will be a video on that as well about how dailyable is this bike. I'm making that video soon. So yeah, it is lowered 3 inches, and pretty much I've had no issues with it. People always say you can't lower this, you can't do this on the bike. I had no problems lowering it. It doesn't affect handling at all for me in my case. So there's a word to the wise as well. But yeah, overall this bike is the reason I mainly picked it. Like I said, it was a Honda. I picked it up for $2,800 from somebody who was trying to get rid of it. Like I said, it wasn't the best shape when I got it, but for the price I paid for it, I definitely got my money's worth, even in one season, I feel like. I learned a lot on it. I didn't really drop it at all. I dropped it from a standstill, that was it. I didn't drop it while riding at all, which is great, because that's another worry people have. But yeah, these are heavier bikes. I'm not sure what the R6 is. I'll be 100% with you. I'm not sure if it is a 4-cylinder. I just know this guy is a 4-cylinder. So if it's not a 4-cylinder, I'm sorry. Like I said, I don't know too much about the R6 to tell you right now. But that's the reason I picked it over the R6. Like I said, I found it for a better deal, and it just kind of hopped in my lap that way, so I kind of had to do it. I've mentioned before, I am a really small guy. I'm only 5'6", 120 pounds. I'm only 20 years old as well though. But yeah, overall, getting a bike this big was really intimidating in the beginning, because this bike weighs, I don't know what the curb weight is really. I think it's like about 360. So this bike pretty much weighs triple of what I weigh. And with me being short, you know, that don't exactly help my case. I got pretty comfortable on this thing though, as I mentioned earlier. I drove it to work a lot of times this year. I drove it to work a lot this year actually. And just had a fucking blast on this thing. I mean, for the price I paid for it, you almost can't go wrong. You will not find anything kind of like it for at least the price I paid. I mean, I don't know what else you would really find for 2,100 bucks with this kind of speed. And I feel like a 600, just overall, any 600 is just a good, like, benchmark bike. Because, I mean, you have a lot of high cc bikes out there. I mean, you got the Hayabusa, it's the 1300 cc. I mean, there's a lot of bikes you can get that are a lot more powerful, but then again, they're a little heavier. If I were ever to upgrade from this bike, it would be a 1000 cc. But like I said, I might keep this thing. I was actually thinking about getting a Hayabusa, which is crazy. Don't know why I thought that. I was thinking about it for a while. Like I said, it's my first year riding ever, so I think I'm gonna hold off a little bit. But if I were ever to upgrade, I think I would get an R1 after this thing. My buddy has an R1. They look sick, and those things are obviously freaking amazing. Things are fast as shit. Like, you're popping up wheelies in almost third gear, just power wheelies. So, like I said, they're very, very quick bikes. These things can also be very, very quick. If you get Power Commander, tune them. As far as feature plans for this bike, I do not know. I know what I want to do. Don't know if I'm gonna actually do it. Obviously, I want to get Power Commander, get the air filter, upgrade air filter obviously, and then potentially a quick shifter. Quick shifters are kind of like, they're kind of cool as shit. I'll be honest, they're cool as shit, but they're not needed. They just sound cool as shit. I mean, how fast you can upshift, it's just sick as fuck. I've tried to keep it stock. I've tried my best. I haven't bought any parts for it yet, so I've succeeded in that part. It's just so hard not to. I mean, these things out of the gate are fucking ridiculously fast. Like, crime-worthy fast in the first gear. Like, it's ridiculous. I just did my first oil change on it actually last week. That went all well. Oil came out clean as hell. Even an oil change on this thing is super good. My buddy has a KTM Duke 690. Shout out John, he's probably watching this. On his oil change, we had to change out two oil filters and 2 oil screens. So like, it was a royal pain in the ass. Just a lot of fucking around for something that I feel like should be what this is, a drain plug and an oil filter. So this thing is ridiculously easy to change over. All I had to do was remove the bottom fairings and take a drain plug out, drain the oil, take the oil filter out, just like a car. Take the oil filter out, drain plug out, and that was it. I mean, this thing was ridiculously easy to do. We're gonna stop here to get some gas. Let's make this light, shall we? Not to mention, it just sounds good as fuck. Like, the R6 I think sounds a little better than this thing, I'll be honest, depending on obviously what exhaust you got and shit. But this thing does sound fucking ridiculously good. It doesn't have a full exhaust, it just has a slip-on exhaust, which is the one I showed you earlier. As far as miles per gallon on this bike goes, I think I'm getting about, I don't know, let's just say 120 to 130 miles per fill up. I usually fill up before I get to that mark because I just works out easier that way. But yeah, you can easily get 130, 120 miles per gallon. And I drive like a dick on this thing. Like if you're conservative, you can easily get, I could say easily 140, but I have no idea because I've never done it before. Yeah, I didn't buy this thing to drive it conservatively, so that's also why I don't really care about miles per gallon. I mean, it still gets, I don't know, what's 120 divided by 3? It still gets about, 140 miles to the gallon. So, I mean, we're still getting, like, better than cars. So, I don't know, man. To each their own. I know the 1000s don't get as good gas mileage. Jesus. A lot of shit going on right now. Big ass hunka-dunka truck going by. Jesus. Can't get a peace and quiet around here. I mean, even though you got to put 93 in this thing, I think it's still even a good deal. We'll do the math right here since we're already here. I'll show you the miles per gallon I got in the last fuel fill up. I don't want a receipt. Please see cashier for receipt. They can suck it. I'm not getting no receipt. So that was 113 miles for a little less than 3 gallons. So whatever the math equates to, I don't do math, so you guys can figure that out in the comments. And like I said, I drive this thing a dick, so I never, it's always bouncing off red line or somewhere close to it. So you can totally get more. Bikes are meant to be pretty fuel efficient. I'll be 100% honest too. I feel like if I would have found an R6 for this price, I would have still picked it up. I feel like I liked the R6. I liked it before I got this a little bit more because my brother owned an R6 before me. I think I would have liked the R6 before I bought anything. I preferred the R6, I believe. I don't know. Like I said, they're both really very similar bikes. I mean, you can go 60 miles per hour in this thing in first gear. I mean, do you really need a whole lot more for a starter bike? I don't think so. And then you got those people who start on 1000cc bikes, which is, again, it's all personal choice. If you're really that comfortable, go ahead, go for it. It's not my life, but I wouldn't recommend somebody, at least somebody my stature starting on a 1000cc. Nor would I ever have considered it. So. It burbles like a motherfucker too. Especially in second. I'll kind of show you guys. So, this bike is way more than enough that you need for a starter bike. If I were to do it all over again, all over again, it would really depend on the market. Like I said, if I wouldn't have found this bike for so cheap, I probably would not have gone with the 600. Just me being 5'6", 120 pounds. That's, like I said, I don't know. It just depends what's out there, what was out there at the time when I bought this. This thing was the cheapest 600RR I could ever find, and it probably still is in the market, other than ones being wrecked. But I would say don't go with a 300cc Even someone like me, a 400cc would be fine. And those are pretty light depending on what bike you get. It all depends what bike you get. Because you can get 600cc's that are still smaller bikes. Like weight-wise and stuff. It all depends what kind of bike you want. For a sport bike, this is probably a heavier sport bike for a 600. A lot of them aren't this heavy. But now with this bike being lowered, it's definitely very comfortable for me, being 5'6", 120 pounds. So if you guys needed to hear it, you're hearing it from me. So that was a good one. All right, we'll end the video here. Thanks for watching. Any questions about it, if you guys have any, I'll be doing my best to answer in the comments. But with that being said, we will see you guys in the next one. Adios, motherfuckers. Ride safe, bike safe, don't be stupid, stay away from drugs, and yeah, adios, motherfuckers.
They tell me that I'm never gonna make it. They want me to do something that could make sense. They hate when I keep dreaming I'll be famous, but I don't give a fuck, I'ma keep chasing. I got all this potential.